is a chat off the back of the Channel 4 programme Sex, Myths and Menopause. I mean, really, I've only got educated on the menopause in the last 6 or 7 months.
Yeah.
So every single bit of that 7 months ago, I would have gone, oh my God. But I mean,
Right.
I knew a lot of it, but I still did learn things tonight. I was just saying to Mark, the only thing that was frustrating for me was they couldn't talk about testosterone, obviously, but I thought it was such, and Davina is just so, she's just the best host for it, isn't she? She's so empathetic, she's so open, and she made every symptom okay. So I think she did a tremendous job tonight.
Yeah.
And it was lovely to see my doctor,
Your doctor,
there,
that's
Dr.
your
Louise
doctor, yeah?
Newson. Yeah.
Wow. So why, clarify for me again, so why couldn't they talk about testosterone, or didn't they talk about
I
it?
wonder if it's because you can't just get it from any GP. It's really weird because when you look it up, it says you can't get it. You have to get it off license from a specialist doctor. But then it does say NICE guidelines do say from a qualified practitioner you are allowed to have it. So I don't know, but there was definitely some reason. You would know as a producer, wouldn't it? They wouldn't have not said it.
Well,
because
no,
Davina was on her Instagram the other day
but that's
using
why I
it.
ask. I only know if there's an illegality about it. Would there be a worry that there'd be a stampede to the doctors for something that
don't
they
know.
simply can't prescribe? Which
Well,
I
on
could
that
imagine.
point, you made a very good point tonight when you said, well, you know, if this was men, it would be sorted out, the menopause. And as I said to Mark, you know what? It has been sorted out. We've got HRT patches that are no longer horse urine filled with hormones. We've got estrogen and we've got testosterone. The trouble is, because of a report done 20 years ago, people are put off.
Interesting point. Claire Smiley raises a point that I was thinking about with regards to Maddie watching something like this. I'd have thought for a young woman, is any discussion about the menopause, whilst better to be forewarned is forearmed, but is it a little bit sort of, you know, will it leave them a little bit overwhelmed with the thought of, oh God,
Well, one
I've
of
got
the
that to
things
come,
that I was
dreading it
really
slightly.
pleased to hear was they said they are now going to be teaching people in schools. Because not everybody gets all those symptoms. Not everybody gets any symptoms. But everybody gets the symptoms within their body, i.e. that the estrogen is no longer feeding the brain, the heart, the bones.
So you don't think it needs to be a demoralising thing for young women?
No, I think
if
you teach it in an empowered way, like these symptoms you may
Rebecca
get.
Smith says, I'm now worried. I mean, I think I can well imagine for a hypochondriac, it might make you feel a bit...
Well, I suppose just if you're a young person. But but the thing is, you are now getting educated. You are going to be the generation that don't spend the first 3, 4, 5 years, like myself, like Davina said, thinking, oh my God, I've got Alzheimer's. Oh my God, I'm dying. Oh my God, who am I? What is the point of me? Who was I ever? All these things that I had going on in me, I didn't know it was because of the menopause. So we've got to kind of push through and just keep talking about
Pamela
it.
Sharp
so
says that.
everyone
Best to
knows.
hear about it as it will happen, and we try to fight them for them not having to go through a fight for help. Absolutely. No, the other point I was making about if it was men, if this happened to men, we would have resolved it. The other hypocrisy or kind of gender split is that Viagra has quite rapidly become something that can be sold over the counter. I mean, it's changed its status.
People use it in a narcotic way, and it's not good. It's dangerous if you're a woman and you use it. And yet we can't get estrogen gel.
But this thing that she was talking about is a very specific thing. It was a vaginal estrogen.
So that's for people that may be nervous of using estrogen because of their breast cancer. You can use vaginal estrogen. So that's what I mean. People don't even know about vaginal estrogen.
I thought the most, it was weird watching it. I realised how much I knew through talking to you and through how much you've told me, actually. So
Only in the last few months.
No, absolutely. But I felt quite sort of like, I felt a bit smug. I kind of felt like I knew it all.
What I would say is don't feel dread. Don't. Because by the time, in the next few years, there's a lot of great people like Davina, like Dr. Louise Newson, like many, many people. Kay actually is doing so much talking about the menopause that things are going to change. And I think things are going to change quite quickly with Dr. Louise Newson because she is full power on this. Yeah. Did you hear that? Every week she has to give an emergency appointment because it's a 3-month waiting list to see her, to somebody that is suicidal I mean, isn't that just...
It's shocking. Can I say what I thought the most arresting information in it was that there seems to be almost irrefutable evidence that many women who struggle with Alzheimer's, it's a consequence. It could be prevented if
I
HRT
don't think you
was
said
used.
irrefutable.
No.
They're looking
But
into it.
studies prove that Alzheimer's is a build-up of plaque in the brain.
And it's the number one reason women will die in this country.
But that neuroscientist, I'm
More
telling
than
you
breast
now,
cancer.
go back and watch that. That neuroscientist couldn't say more than he wanted to
Yeah.
say, but he wanted to knock it to the back of the neck
Yeah, he
a
did.
bit more.
He did.
And especially with his grey locks, he was sitting there willing the programme to let him say what he knows, which is that essentially, due to the absence of research, I believe, there's a higher prevalence of Alzheimer's in women. And I also wonder whether when you get a prevalence of Alzheimer's in men, because men have estrogen too and estrogen levels, I wonder if a study should be done in all sufferers of Alzheimer's in both sexes to see where their estrogen levels are. And those studies aren't
Maybe
being
when
done.
we start to say, oh God, I've got this brain fog, who knows that that's not the bloody beginning of it? We don't know. But
that was
I'm
fascinating.
so pleased that this documentary has been made, and and there's even more information, don't forget, on Dr. Louise's website.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really well done.
Rachel Louise, this is a difficult question. How do you know if it's just anxiety or actual menopause, though? I don't know how to tell when it starts. That's a really good question. That's a really good
again,
question.
go to the menopause, Dr. Louise's menopause website, because she talks in depth there about the perimenopause. Like Davina was saying there, she thinks it started for her about 44. And don't be told by a doctor that you're too young. That's absolute bullshit. He cannot know he can't know by looking at you whether you're perimenopausal or not. So I think, though I'm not a doctor, I think what they do is they start you on estrogen and then they test you a few months later. You don't have the test before they put you on estrogen. It's quite a weird way around. But a friend of mine, Donna May, on Instagram, if you check her out, she's perimenopausal. I think she's 42, and she has gone on to estrogen now.
Lorraine Owen, my God, that was so educational. I've been suffering so bad for years and recently cut my work hours because my body just can't cope with the physical work I do. I'm 55 and my joints hurt so much.
Lorraine, that you're the same as me then. Now, I'm 8 years through my menopause, and I can still, it's not too late. It's not too late at all. You can start now.
Gin Flora, I'm just so happy this information is getting out. I'm in my 30s, but trying to get my mum to chat to her doctor because I'm convinced she needs HRT.
Well, if she hasn't had any periods, she does, because she hasn't got any estrogen. Yeah. Think of it like this. I've said this before. This is what Dr. Louise says to me. You are deficient in a hormone. Like if you were deficient in a vitamin, you'd run to get it. This is a deficiency that needs to be topped up.
Angie Knowles, when I was 18, I started with hot flushes and I was just told by the doctor to go away, although I did have 2 children, but I've suffered hot flushes all the way. Can you suffer from hot flushes but not be menopausal?
Well, you see that woman there that was 14? I don't know about that. But see that woman there that was 14 and had her menopause?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I hear about that quite a bit.
Yes, Tamika, I'm looking forward. I've taped that. The Charlene's documentary. We're looking forward to that.
Yeah,
I just texted her actually and
Yeah.
said that because I was doing this live, I wasn't going to be able to watch it, but I was watching it taped. She's so sweet. She sent me a lovely message.
Katie Wilson, have I read that? I'm 44 and have regular migraines and lots of other symptoms. Bloods have now shown I am perimenopausal. I need help. I can't cope with these any longer.
Again, go to the menopause doctor's website and you'll get all, you can just pump in any question that you like and it will answer.
Jane Bentley, the dementia connection is incredible. I thought that was a gobsmacking. I mean, what you can't do when you're making a documentary like that is you can't state anything as fact.
Categorically.
But what you can do, and I can read between the lines with that as, again, go back and watch The Neuroscientist. For sure, there is an inference there that there is a direct connection between the two. And I think, if anything, however we do that, we should lobby for some kind of pressure for more studies to be done.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem. Sharona, just quickly in answer to your question, yes, a number of playlists have been deleted from the channel just to make navigating around the playlist a little bit more coherent on this YouTube channel. But none of the films that were in those playlists have gone. So, for example, if you were looking for a couple in Cornwall and you just pump that in the search, they would all come up. They're just not in a playlist form. They're going to be migrated over to vlogs, travel vlogs.
So is anyone that watched the show tonight going to book to see their doctor and ask about HRT?
Yeah,
Janine
did
Amory,
it?
I've suffered for the last 5 years. I'm suffering no more.
Yeah. So Janine, has that inspired you to go and seek change or information? I mean, I
Yes,
hope
Wendy,
so.
I do. I take testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone.
Mm.
Yes, me. Look, those doctor's surgeries are going to be ringing.
Yeah.
Make sure you go to the website so you can find out how to ask, because lots of them will say no, you can't have it.
Mm.
And maybe you could suggest to your GP, if he does, that he watches the programme.
Deborah Lansbury, Ruth Blandford, Janine Amory, all saying yes. Dawny Harvey, hi Dawny. When I was working, my boss was useless about the menopause. He said basically it was used to get out of doing things, and he would laugh saying so. We had a huge row. I don't think you should have had a huge row.
must
I
have
think you
been
should have put
out
him
of
in
the
a
ark.
headlock, Dawny. You should have put him in a headlock.
Absolutely out of the ark.
Yeah, out of the ark.
Oh, look, Angela Jean, I did that over a month ago and got my HRT after insisting.
Wow,
Good for you.
wow. Claire Smiley, weight gain?
Jane Grimsby, my GP said no, but I'm going back now.
Now, that was another, Claire Smiley asking about weight gain. Is there weight gain or not weight gain? Is there?
You can sometimes get some weight gain, but, as Louise Newson says, you will then start to lose weight, because what happens is, this isn't me, this is what my doctor said, the body hangs, you know when you talk about the midlife spread in the middle? That's because the body is desperately hanging on to the fat around your waist, because there's microcosm amounts of estrogen in it, and because your body's starving for the estrogen, it keeps the fat to feed off the estrogen. But Dr. Louise said, but the thing is that estrogen's not powerful enough to do anything, so you get the weight, but you don't get the estrogen.
I thought it was really telling when they went to the whatever the organised body for GPs was, and they talked about menopausal training for GPs. It reminded me a little bit of the fact that when you look into how vets study and what vets study around nutrition for animals, they only get something like a week in something like 7 years of training. And that week of nutritional training for a vet is sponsored by a pet manufacturing company, right? So that just part that thought to one side. But it struck me as similar that GPs are given, it's a module within their learning that is it's a module you don't have to take.
Yeah.
You don't even have to
choose.
take it. I think if it affects over half the population.
Hang on, let's just run through again. Heart problems, osteoporosis, bone loss, joint problems, anxiety, depression, loss of libido, and you choose whether you want to do the module or not, and 50% of the population are going to go through that. Jesus Christ. Leslie Sargent, I've been suffering with brain fog, muscle pains, can't even function. Oh, bless you. But first thing in the morning, and even after a night's sleep, was prescribed vaginal estradiol, but stopped taking it. Will start again now. And go in and maybe ask for the progesterone and estrogen. Maybe the patch could work for you, because then it will help with all that other stuff. Just go in and talk to your doctor.
Oh, Rachel Louise saying, can she freeze herself at 37 so she doesn't have to go through it?
You'll be okay. I mean, Maddie was just saying to me that somebody she knows was very anti it, like I was for years. And she started taking it 6 months ago at the same time as I did. And now she said she feels like she's alive again.
There you go. I mean, there's no stopping Nance now. I mean, she's got hairs on her chest and she keeps bungee jumping. It's really strange, isn't it?
But your hair gets better, your skin gets better. I mean, it is amazing what estrogen does for the skin. So, I mean, just for that, if nothing else, that's good.
And your ability to put your legs in the air.
But my
Gets
thing
better.
really was about, I was really worried about osteoporosis, because as you know, I've done a lot of binging and starving when I was younger. Terrible for the bones, absolutely terrible. You know, there's a real thing of lots of people not eating cheese and milk and all this, and not getting the vitamin D. And, you know, osteoporosis is no joke. You know, that is a really debilitating condition.
And another point about how it's so short-sighted not to have sort of GPs trained in this sort of area. It's a little bit like thinking around alcohol. The ramifications of certain conditions reach into so many other categories. So I thought it did a good job, the documentary, of touching, hold on, I just want to keep that there.
Yeah, Rebecca.
Yeah, that's what I want to talk about. It did a good job of talking about mental health in terms of suicide. But I think something it could have maybe looked into in a little bit more detail is the survival or not of relationships. Because, I mean, we talked about it and How to Stay Married, our podcast. And I think Rebecca B. So Many Books here says, menopause caused my divorce, wished I'd had this info.
Well, this is
And I think
this
so
is
many
it.
men might
Dr.
have
Louise,
been helped
you
by
know,
that.
she says my heart is broken every day because every day I have women coming in here who have left the job that they love
Yeah.
or have left a relationship, have fallen out with friends or family,
Right.
and they've got no idea that
Yeah.
this was down to being hormone deficient, and it's just a travesty. But there was somebody else just there I wanted to read.
Antidepressants, no?
Oh, Angela, you went. Oh, good.
Angela
look at this.
Thompson says, my doctor said no, gave me antidepressants, and I watched Nadia talking about HRT, went back saying the right things, and I'm now on my 5th week. God, is Nadia now an annoyance to GPs?
And my husband has seen a big change.
Wow, that's
in me.
amazing though, Angela. Well, good on you. Good on you for going back.
Steffi Quinlan got my HRT after being told no. Thank you.
Wow.
Nadia.
So
God.
so it's a mini revolution. It's like a medical revolution, this, isn't it, for women having to force themselves. Zoe Agnew, I feel really worried about it after watching that, especially with the talk about anxiety and depression worsening. I can't imagine my anxiety getting worse in the future.
But it's not going to, is it, Zoe? Because you are now informed, and you might not get all those symptoms. Don't forget, I didn't get all those symptoms. I got some of those symptoms. And the thing is, you are now informed, so you weren't suddenly going to... You might not get a single symptom.
It's important to remember.
But that's what you've got to remember. And the thing is, you're informed now. And you're empowered, because information is power. You will be able to go in, and you never know, you might feel the best you've ever felt. You never know, your hormones might be out of key now. If you suffer very badly with premenstrual tension, or you might have PMS, you might already be struggling with your
I do have to say, I feel for younger women
do.
here listening to this and looking to this. I mean, it's a little bit like, I mean, often we talk about pregnancy and labour and things like that, and then younger women who haven't had babies sometimes hear that, and one has to be careful. I think and you often say it, you say, well, let's not talk in those terms, because actually for any new mums or mums to be, it could be a bit triggery, it could be a bit, traumatic to listen to. So I can well imagine that this is something that kind of, for many women will be a case of, oh God,
You know what I would say though
across.
is, everything that I went through was so much worse because I didn't know what I was going through. So
That's
the
a very good point,
anxiety was massive. I'd never had anxiety before, but it made me anxious because I didn't understand why I was feeling differently and why I was. And if I had, had this information, like our friend Donna at Loose Women, who's going on it now, perimenopause, she's not going to have any of this.
ALH Games here. So in a sense, what you're saying, thank God for documentaries like this. Thank God for people like you talking about it. I'm only 32, says ALH Games, but so grateful for you and other celebrities talking about this because I feel more informed and prepared.
Yeah, you see, you're more informed and prepared, Zoe. Think about it like that.
Yeah.
And think about, wow, this is great because I'm not going to drop into an anxiety pit and be really scared about myself. I'm going to know, I'm around this age, this is probably what it is. You won't have to go on for ages feeling that way, and you'll be able to get your right, which is to get your hormones replaced.
Do you know what? My heart goes out for a lot of women in history, because if I think about my nan, there were some really choppy years there where I found her really frightening to be around.
It was probably her mental.
No, absolutely. But those characteristics that will then be laid down in family history
as you're the person.
That's what like my mum often talks about her nan being a woman who would cry an awful lot and be in a terrible wreck and all this, and so suddenly that person has become characterized in family history as a bit of a loop or a bit of a hysterical, and actually they've been struggling and labouring.
I'd forgotten that I didn't always used to get tired at 4 o'clock and not do anything and not want to go out in the evenings. I just thought that was me.
Yeah.
But Zoe, I'll say it again. I've been ill the last couple of weeks, but I felt better than I have felt than I can remember. So it's a really positive thing being informed. The reason the documentary is made and that side of the story is told so strongly is because Davina and Louise, Dr. Louise, and all these people, we are desperate to make the powers that be sit up and listen.
Yeah.
And take stock and say enough is enough. That report from 20 years ago that is still informing not only women, but the doctors that treat them. Because those leaflets are what the doctors look at. Because don't forget what it said in that programme. It's it's not compulsory, the module on menopause. So this is what Dr. Louise said to me. You know, GPs will look like this. The leaflet will come up and they'll go, oh, no, you'd be at risk of breast cancer, stroke, No, it's not for you.
Margaret Ann MacArthur says, in America, 23%, so that's almost a quarter, of women in their 40s and 50s take antidepressants. Wow, that's a lot. Higher than any other group by age or sex, probably due to menopause.
Wow, isn't that interesting, Margaret? That's what
Fascinating.
Dr. Louise said to me as well. She said the money that is being spent on antidepressants, because they're more expensive than HRT.
Right.
That's why she can't get her head around
The
it.
irony about I said this, you were going live on Instagram, is if antidepressants being prescribed by a doctor to someone who's got menopausal issues, it dampens your sex drive even more. I mean, it's not going to help, and it encourages weight gain and all sorts of things. A lot of antidepressants, not all. But do you think a lot of women use things like alcohol to medicate through the menopause?
Well, yeah, this is what this doctor was saying to me. She said, you know, a lot of women are really frightened about taking HRT, but if you drink 2 glasses of wine a night, you've got more risk of breast cancer than you have from HRT.
Right.
And a lot of women are medicating with alcohol because of their symptoms, because they feel tired, because they feel miserable, because their sex drive has disappeared. Anita O'Reilly, I still have symptoms on HRT. Is that normal? Well, that's really interesting you say that, because another friend of mine who had done really well on HRT for a long while, and then her symptoms came back. She went back to a different doctor, a menopause expert doctor, and they changed the kind of HRT she was on. So if you're not supposed to still get symptoms, it might mean that you need. So I would talk to a doctor, definitely. Go onto the menopause doctor's website, and she's probably done an article on that. So yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely know of people that have changed their HRT and then felt so much better. So, yeah. Sonia Donovan says, my husband says to me he doesn't know what mood I'll be in from one minute to the next.
Get him to listen to our How to Stay Married about
Yeah,
the menopause.
because Mark talks about that as well. Maybe we should do another link for it tonight.
Yeah, maybe. It'd be useful.
That'd be a good idea, actually. Well, I'll put it on my stories with the swipe up. Yeah, Jane Bentley, antidepressants won't resolve the problems for a menopausal woman. No, because what the menopausal woman is deficient in a life-giving hormone. That's why. And don't worry if you're younger, because you can just have the hormone and then you'll be fine. Just like you could get scurvy from lack of vitamin C, and then what do? You take vitamin C and you're all right.
I think the most useful thing you've said over recent weeks and months
hang on, just one second. Alice Kearney, I would love to go on HRT, but my doctor says no.
Well, that's what I was just about to say. I think one of the most encouraging things you've said, and the biggest message to take from this, is go back and push again and push again and push again. Can I just ask?
To see a menopause specialist.
I was going to say, if your GP is resistant and ultimately refuses, can you ask to see a different GP in the practice? Can you go to a different GP? Can you go to a different surgery?
I think you can always ask for another doctor. Again, I know I keep saying it. Go to that menopause website, and there will be information there about what to do if your doctor has refused you. Of course, some people might be refused for some medical reasons, you know. I wouldn't just take no for an answer. I would get a second opinion.
Absolutely. I know it's often said. I never know how easy it is to get a second opinion. You know.
It's your right.
It's your right. It is your
All
right.
right, lovelies.
Okay, guys.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go and put the podcast up now on my stories that you can swipe and listen to, because it's good, because it's from a male and female perspective. So quite lots of people messaged us after that podcast and said, oh my God, it was so brilliant because now my husband understands, and vice versa. So.
Yeah, and useful for men to listen to,
Yeah.
because I don't hold my punches, and I do talk about the worst periods and worst points, and well, not periods, but you know what I mean, the worst points in our marriage during menopause and where the confusion crept in. So I think it might be kind of useful to some men who love their wives and don't want it to be a deal breaker, if you know what I mean.
Wendy Stewart, I'm 10 years post-menopause and have brain fog and what I call black holes. Do you think that's what I call it, black holes. Do you think the GP would give it to me? My doctor, Louise Newsom, was saying to me that she'd recently prescribed somebody who was 85 with the estrogen, and she's doing brilliantly on it.
Oh.
Liz Earle's mum. Liz Earle, you know Liz Earle. So absolutely, go and see your doctor.
That was the question I wanted to ask, because in those studies where they were talking about how, you know, it's basically been inflated and it's not accurate, that there's heart problems and cancer risks and what have you to people beneath the age of 70. Does it mean, therefore, that you should come off it? Is there a sort of optimal end age to come off this
Well, lots of
stuff?
doctors will say you've been on it too long now, you can't have
Right.
it anymore. But Dr. Louise and says it's for life because you'll
Is
be
it?
deficient in it for life. So that's what
But,
she says.
but does it not then revert back to that original study which suggests that there's a risk over a certain age? Or
I mean, that's where don't forget that study was done with a very different kind of HRT.
I mean, I'm
It's
just thinking,
changed
wouldn't it
now.
be terrible if you've got this wonderful kind of short-term solution between, say, 40 and 70, and then you're chundling along towards 70, and you're thinking, fucking hell, I've got to come off it. Do you have to?
Gladys Green said, my doctor told me I would have to come off it at 60 years old.
Oh, right,
I'm
there
going
you
to go
go.
and check that on the website.
We should look into that. Maybe ask your doctor
Well,
about
she
that and
definitely
report
said
back.
to me, she's just put Liz Earle's mum on it and she's 85. So.
Right, okay, there you go. All right, guys, that was really useful and really enlightening. And I think what you're doing and saying for people is obviously really important.
Well,
Yeah.
share, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sharing our experiences. That's what we do on here. We don't give advice because we're not professional anyway. We just share our experience and that helps us and it often helps you no matter what.
Apart from we
topic.
have sort of told everyone to go and hassle their GPs and not take no for an answer.
Yeah, but that's not a doctor's. But that's not us giving any medical
No,
advice.
it's not. We're just getting you to kind of lock your doctors in their surgeries.
Yeah, go and have a chat with them.
Okay, guys, see you
Love
in
you
the
guys.
morning.
Subscribe to the channel if this is your first time here, my lovelies. There's loads of content on here. We do all sorts of things.
Bye.
That's a love.
Take